Hello everyone. This video presents a notable event that happened on each day from the past week in history. On May 19th, 1051, Anne of Kiev, also known as Anna Yaroslavna, married the King of France Henry I. When Henry died 9 years later, Anne effectively ruled France as regent for her underage son who had inherited the throne. Princess Anna was the daughter of Yaroslav the Wise, who held the titles of Grand Prince of Kiev and Prince of Novgorod in the Rus civilization of what is now Ukraine, that also became Russia and Belarus. The widow Anna wasted no time in remarrying, taking Count Ralph IV of Valois, a French nobleman, as her second husband. This marriage was controversial because Ralph was the cousin of King Henry I, and furthermore was still technically married when he wed Anna. Ralph was excommunicated by the Catholic Church, and the scandal apparently cost Anna influence over the French court. Ralph died in 1074 and Anna died a year later, leaving modern Russia and Ukraine both to claim her as a native daughter. On May 20th, 1969, the Battle of Hamburger Hill came to an end. A regiment of the U.S. Army 101st Air Mobile Division alongside South Vietnamese allies fought the North Vietnamese army over Hill 937 for a week of bitter combat, until finally the U.S. and South Vietnamese kicked the defenders off the hill. Only 2 weeks later, the Americans decided to abandon the hill so dearly bought in blood. The American commanders apparently thought the fact that North Vietnamese forces were on a hill that provided a good view of the surrounding terrain was an unacceptable situation, and a major campaign was waged to dislodge the firmly embedded defenders. About 1,800 American and South Vietnamese soldiers fought 800 North Vietnamese defenders, eventually taking the hill at a cost of 72 Americans and 31 South Vietnamese dead. On May 21, 1703, English writer Daniel Defoe was arrested and jailed for the crime of seditious libel, his offense being the writing of a pamphlet critical of rich and powerful English authorities. Defoe was the author of Robinson Crusoe, a novel that has reportedly been translated more than any other book in history besides the Bible. Defoe was also a poet and pamphleteer, often treading on the toes of those high and mighty in charge of English society. Unfortunately for Defoe, those pillars of the community were sensitive about criticism and being called hypocrites, and Defoe was arrested, fined, jailed, and given some time in the pillory to contemplate his alleged crimes. While in the pillory, supposedly for public ridicule, Defoe entertained crowds by reciting political poems he had composed. Oddly enough, Defoe was released from prison under an agreement to become a spy for the Tories. On May 22, 2017, an Ariana Grande concert at Manchester Arena in Manchester, England, was rocked at the end by a horrific terrorist attack by a man of Libyan descent in the name of ISIS. Salman Ramadan Abedi, aged 22, and his co-conspirator brother Hashim Abedi, aged 20, were deemed responsible for the suicide blast that killed 22 innocent concert-goers and Salman. Hashim was found guilty of 22 counts of murder, but only got a 55-year prison sentence due to British law protecting people less than 21 years of age from life in prison sentences. Along with the 22 innocent deaths, another 239 people were injured, and hundreds more suffered psychological ill effects from the terrible experience. As a question for my students and subscribers, can mass murders be stopped? If so, how? On May 23, 1829, Austrian maker of keyboard instruments Cyril Demian, a man of Armenian descent, was granted a patent for his new musical instrument, the accordion. As with so many other inventions, the actual inventor of the accordion is disputed, with some giving Christian Buschmann of Germany credit as the real inventor. Some other instruments let their name lead you to their inventor, such as the saxophone, invented by Adolphe Sax of Belgium in the 1840s, and the sousaphone, of course invented by the March King himself, John Philip Sousa, in 1893, although the actual builder of the new form of tuba was James Pepper. Likewise, the Moog synthesizer was created by Robert Moog in 1964, the first commercial synthesizer and the first analog model of the device. Did you know founding father Benjamin Franklin invented a musical instrument? He did. On May 24, 1962, an American Atlas LV-3B rocket blasted off, carrying astronaut Scott Carpenter in his Project Mercury space capsule he had named Aurora 7, the sixth manned spaceflight in history. Manned spaceflight began in April of 1961 when Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin made his historic trip into orbit. And a month later, the Americans launched astronaut Alan Shepard into space, though on a suborbital flight. Project Mercury was the NASA answer to the Soviet Vostok manned space capsule, and each Mercury capsule contained a single astronaut. Designed by Belize-born engineer Maxime Faget, the Mercury capsule first was launched using a chimpanzee named Ham as the astronaut, and then a second chimp named Enos before NASA risked a human flight. Is the highly expensive space program worth the cost? On May 25, 1961, President John F. Kennedy made a bold announcement to Congress that the U.S. should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. Kennedy's bold plan was later proven to be true, as the successful Apollo 11 moon landing took place in 1969. Some other bold presidential plans, promises, and pronouncements have included, in 1928, presidential candidate Herbert Hoover allegedly promising a chicken in every pot and 2 cars in every garage, except he never said that. Democrats had disingenuously quoted a pro-Hoover ad that was not actually from the Hoover campaign. Also, from 1968 to 1973, candidate and then President Richard Nixon promised peace with honor in Vietnam. How would you characterize the conclusion of the Vietnam War? As a question for my students and subscribers, which event from this past week in history would you most like to learn more about? Please let me know in the comment section below this video. If you liked this video and would like to receive notification of new videos, please feel welcome to subscribe to History in Headlines and become one of our patrons. Your viewership is much appreciated. For image, audio, and other credits and attributions for components of the individual videos in this compilation, please see the descriptions of their respective videos, which are linked to in this video's description.